Hello, my fellow extraordinary Americans. My name is Cosmos Dar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America? Well, you see, America has always been about freedom, opportunity, and the pursuit of happiness. However, most Americans are not free when it comes to the financial front. Most Americans are suffering from financial slavery due to loss of jobs, stagnant wages, inflation, and debt. Wealth and income inequality is the norm now, and the middle class has all but disappeared. So Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99%. It is about the nation of immigrants and the descendant of immigrants restoring the extraordinary within themselves and setting themselves free. The path to financial freedom is through financial education. It is through becoming entrepreneurs and investors on the light side. In this podcast, I interview fellow Americans who fought against the odds. Many of them came from humble beginnings to see how they did it. It is my hope through these interviews that the extraordinary within you shall awaken and that you will abolish financial slavery from your life and realize the American dream. Once again, welcome to Extraordinary America. Welcome back to the show, my fellow extraordinary Americans. For today's guest, we have Shawn Huber. Shawn is a certified high performance coach with the High Performance Institute and certified hypnotherapist. He's also the founder of Structured Freedom, which is a transformational coaching company that guides people to connect their mind and body together for becoming a healthier person. Shawn believes that by having a plan, people have the ability to achieve their goals and dreams as well as their freedom to live the life that they desire. Shawn has over 10 years of coaching experience and has worked with a diverse range of clients that all have a common goal of making positive changes to go from good to great. His desire to help people turn their dreams into realities come from his own personal experiences. Shawn went through many calamities in his own personal life and not just survived but thrived. He's an extraordinary American who embodies the American spirit of tackling adversity and coming through, and I'm glad to have him on the show. Shawn, are you there?
Yes, thanks for having me, Cosmos.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the show. I'm really excited to have you over here. So,
Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it.
so Shawn, I know that you're like an entrepreneur and you're a certified hypnotherapist and you're a high performance coach. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Sure. So, at a young age, I was really interested in not just the physical side, but the mental side of what makes people tick. So I got into Eastern medicine really young, and I used that and got into health and wellness, exercising, say when I was around 12. I was really young for entering high school. And I was actually 17 in college and still had to get, my parents to write permission slips. And I'm in college, I'm going, you got to be kidding me. So I really went the route of the physical therapy, wanted to get into that. That didn't happen. So I went to massage therapy school and I got to really understand how the human body is connected in different ways to mental aspects, not just the brain containing memory, but actually muscle. And the big thing that people talk about is muscle memory. So I did that for a while, and people were always asking me about how they could get in better shape. So I became a certified personal trainer and did that for over 25 years. And I really got interested in what makes people show up to get in shape. And a lot of times it's because they had an appointment, and that's the only reason. So I'm like, okay, why do certain people come in more often than others? I started understanding like their drive behind their why. I found out about coaching. I'm like, what would happen if I was to integrate coaching into personal training? So I started doing that, and the 20% of people who were only showing up their own actually grew to 60 to 70%. And
Nice.
what it is holding you to the reason why you want to be healthier. So people would come in with one reason, and that's their want. And I actually saw a need. And so it's how do I incorporate the need into their wants? So I had people just wanting to get in decent shape, started to do some incredible things, started becoming not only more productive in the way in which they were taking care of themselves, but the relationships they were having with their spouses or their significant others, them challenging themselves to doing extraordinary things that they never thought were possible. And I remember one gentleman said to me, he goes, Shawn, you gave me something that I don't know if I could ever pay you back for. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And he goes, I've had a bad back for over 10 years. And I always thought it was going to get really, worse as I kept aging. And he goes, but from the working out we're doing and the way in which you challenged me to push myself, I was fearful that I was actually going to hurt myself. Even though you were an expert, I didn't believe it. But the way in which you challenged me got me to go on for the first time ever on a vacation to a dude ranch with my family because I got to participate in the kayak, the whitewater rafting, and horseback riding. He goes, yeah, I didn't sleep outside the tent, but it was the first time in years that I was actually physically active with my family instead of being a bystander on the sidelines watching them have fun. And he goes, I thought that that was over with. And I realized something about the ability to get out of our own way was much greater than just the physical side. It was also the mental side. And he was hugely successful in business. And once my daughter was born, I was like, okay, I can't get up at 5 in the morning anymore to go to work and then work till 8 o'clock at night. So I got into coaching full time. But the big kickers of all this were when I was in my early 30s, I got diagnosed with cancer.
Oh my
And
God.
my concept of first getting into this mind body connection was I have some control over this. Cancer is me and I am cancer. And people always think that cancer is something outside of themselves. And I had testicular cancer, and my doctor was Lance Armstrong's doctor, Larry Einhorn. And I incorporated holistic medicine, Eastern medicine, with my protocol of chemotherapy treatment. And they didn't realize I was stage 3C, and after 3 is stage 4. So I went through the chemotherapy, and people would be like, who are in infusion area, like, why do you have so many doctors?
So you were
I'm
like in
like, well, they're my clients. They're like, what do you mean?
you were in
Close to
stage.
stage 4, but it was stage 3.
I see.
Like, yeah, and again, that means it's migrated to other areas. So it's in my lymph nodes. And when I'm talking to these other doctors, I'm actually giving them advice on how to work out and keep themselves from burning out at work because, being a physician, there's a ton of stress with that. And they were quite shocked. They're like, you don't look like you're sick. I'm like, I'm not sick. I have cancer. What's making me sick is all the drugs they're giving me, but I know the outcome is going to be positive. So I use visualization work in between my treatments of flushing cancer out of me. I looked at how food and learning different things about my own body were helping heal me, what sugar does to cancer, what happens when you starve it of sugar. And there's really interesting things that you can have control over. And a lot of times when people are going through cancer, they think it's a death sentence. Well, the reality of it is we're all on a death sentence, but do you want to make the most out of your life? And that's where it really kicked in. We're like, okay, what can I do with all this stuff that I've gathered? Of all the trials I've been through, from challenging myself in races and getting injured in a race that changed my life completely, to then doing things that I was pushing myself really hard and wore out some body parts and had to get those taken care of. And then most recently, being that, I'm the provider of de-stressing and organizing your life, I had a heart attack. And the doctor's like, you eat healthy, you exercise, your cholesterol's a little high, but not exaggerated. What do you think happened? I'm like, well, I've been through chemotherapy. It could have definitely caused issues. It could be stress that I'm under, that I'm putting myself out there for other people more than myself. So now my whole reason for doing what I do is to have people get better at what they're doing and not giving them anything new at first. So then they can believe in themselves more of a pattern their mind is recognizing, and then take it to that, what can I do next? And just exploring that with people saying, hey, there's something here. And that's why I got certified as a hypnotherapist, to unlock that subconscious block. And so people can believe in their ability to just go ahead and go for the most outrageous thing they think possible and actually start to see it happening in a real-time fashion. But at the same time, like the company called Structured Freedom, you have to have some structure in your life to create that freedom. And how to do so is to have daily routines, have weekly goals, meet with people that are going to get you there and also support you on your journey. And that takes some planning. You just can't keep all that in your head without having a system in place. And that's where I really love taking the things I've been through and the knowledge I've accumulated over years and just putting it into a simple program. I called it mental mechanics. And I'm the mental mechanic. So, like in a car, you've got all these amazing mechanical things going on, but if the computer doesn't work correctly, the car doesn't run. So it's the same thing with your body. How do you want to get the most out of and clear on how you're thinking? What are the components that you can and have control over and you can do on a daily basis to get that best performance out of yourself? And also learn how to relax and enjoy life more to get more out of it. And that could be better communication with yourself, with your friends, with your family. And the coolest thing about all this that I found out, which was amazing, people were having more success in life and in their businesses than they've ever had before, taking more time for themselves. So that was the coolest thing that I'm like, how'd this happen? And everyone that I've worked with are like, wow, I didn't expect to get this or to get that. I came for you to do this. And I'm like, isn't it interesting how everything's connected?
No, it is. But Sean, like, there's so many things that I wanted to ask. But one of the things I'm really amazed is like you fought through cancer and you had a heart attack. Most people would be completely demoralized if they went through all those health crises. But you had like a mindset that was different from everybody else. Could you elaborate more on like what the mindset was that helped you get through these really dark times in your life?
So you can't do anything after the fact, right? It's done. But you have an attitude towards everything. So if I was to say, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. What did I do to deserve this? That is going to go through everyone's head. But how long you dwell there for is your choice. So what can I do to make this better? And when you sit by yourself for as long as I sat, and people were, because I was younger, it was interesting to watch how they interacted with me. They could catch it. How could it happen to you? And you start to see the reaction to me bringing up their own self doubts, which we all are going to have. But how are we going to make the situation as best we possibly can? So we have to set goals that are going to push us to be better, regardless of the situation you're in. Like, what is cancer compared to going through being homeless? What is it going through getting divorced or someone close to you, something bad or tragic happening to them? It's your ability to say, how long do I want to sit in this and be a victim? And or can I choose to change a split second and make a better choice? And we've worked with clients where they would sit in that area of despair for months. And once we were done working, 5 minutes, it's over because they made a choice and realized what was the reason for being down there. And again, it's not what we're expressing outwardly, it's the conversation we're having inwardly. So 1,000 people could say, Cosmos, man, you did a great job. But that one person goes, man, I don't think that was great. What were you thinking? And if you repeat that 1,001 times, the negative talk wins.
Sean, it's really interesting you say that because like I'm like right now thinking about like the news media and like on a national perspective, like there's so many good things that happen on a daily basis. Like as you were saying, 1,000 people are doing good things, but then when it comes to like when you open your TV, you only see the sensationalized bad things that are happening, and then that keeps getting repeated again and again. So almost like it seems like now that we have like communications and TV and internet and all that people tend to blow the negative things out of proportions. But I feel like that happens on an individual level as well, where like there's so many good things that happen to us on a daily basis that we're grateful for. But then there's this one or two things in our life that is an issue, and then we just keep focusing and obsessing over the things that are not right in our life. And I feel like people do that. But I don't know, what's your perspective on that?
It's an interesting perspective, and I'm going to be completely honest. When I was going through the hypnosis training and you'd watch TV going through this pandemic we had, you could see the manipulation going on. People are easily more controlled when they're fear-based and not knowing, and they expect the worst case scenario. And you have to decide, why is that going to be the worst? And you have to hold on to, how can I make this situation better? And if you make a decision on what you don't want, you're going to get it.
So if you don't want something and you made a
You got to make
decision,
a decision on what you want. So when you, yeah, so if you don't want something, it's not that you want it. So you have to say, okay, what do I really want to surround myself with? So the books you read, the things you do, you definitely want to take that into consideration on a daily basis. Like if you're about to fall asleep and you're watching some crazy sci-fi horror film, you're going to bed with that information in your head. But if you're sitting there and saying, hey, I'm going to read something inspirational, I'm going to reflect and write what I call a gratitude list on the great things that happened to me today, well, guess what I'm going to bed with? My subconscious is going to be thinking about the last thing I thought about. So again, it's choice. And how we are as Americans, we get lazy. Whatever shocks us, it gets an adrenaline spike, and fear is the fight or flight. But most people aren't fighting anymore. And if they are, it's something that isn't real. And they're arguing against a lot of things that if they actually took time to get to know the person, they actually have more in common. But the differences are what makes us unique, and we shouldn't be fighting over those differences. We should be okay with people seeing life and the world around us differently. But we also have to say, hey, I don't agree with that, and that's fine. So I'm going to limit the amount of information I'm getting from you. And it's not that we're pushing people away from us, is that we're surrounding us with the things that we want more in our lives. So people always say that adage of the 6 people around you are equivalent to who you're going to be. There's a lot of truth to that. And it's not about their wealth necessarily. It's about their mental, physical health. It's about, are they supporting you and pushing you? Because a lot of times in business, if you're an entrepreneur, most of your family usually isn't. And great if they are, because they're going to support you. But the normal person in a family who is working 9 to 5 looks at you like you're crazy. And then you get this self-doubt. But when you become successful, then they're all on your side. It's, where are you going to really be in life to keep positively on track to where you want to go? And that you got to make some decisions on what you're going to surround yourself with, what you're going to listen to. Is me being lazy because I didn't prepare food a great thing? No, because I'm going to grab something that's just going to fill me up and satisfy that hunger. But is it going to provide the right energy for me to be healthier and happier? And how's it affecting me mentally? So America's become exceptionally convenient. Like, I really don't like to go to a restaurant that has anything where I can drive up and get food. It's the energy in which that food is produced does have an impact on us. Now, granted, once in a while I'm going to go to a Chick-fil-A and get those waffle fries, but normally it shouldn't be my go-to to get something that's mass produced and it's not taken into consideration of the quality of the product and also the energy in which it was made. That's what we're not thinking about. And that's another choice. So it's making your better choices and not thinking that it's weighing you down, because it may take a little longer to get there.
Sean, you bring up a very interesting point, like in that, right? Like where you talk about like we focus on what we don't want more often than what we do. And then there's like the 5 people that we hang out with the most. What usually happens is like the 5 people that we hang out with most, let's say our family and friends, they always focus on a lot of them focus on what they don't want. And then basically they spread the negativity, but then that affects the other people around them. And so what I'm thinking about is that if like us, like we can create like what is called a ripple effect and start by focusing on what we do want and being like, let's say have like a gratitude journal or something like that, like where we talk about what we're grateful and appreciative about. And then we have a positive state of mind. And then slowly, bit by bit, we start pushing back and influencing people because it's like small things like this that end up making a huge difference, you know?
Right. And you have to, the main key to this is you have to ask their permission first. Because a lot of times, I mean, honestly, I've had people say, how can you be so positive and happy all the time? I'm like, it's choice. And they're pissed. They're like, that can't be true. I'm like, okay. But I've asked the question, and I'm not putting people down when I ask a question. I want a deep thought. If I ask you, Cosmos, how are you today? Oh, I'm fine. No, no, really. How are you? And I leave it open like that. you may go down to negative. But if I said, hey, Cosmos, what's that one really cool thing you saw today that inspired you or made you smile? Then I get to shift the way in which you're starting to access positive information. So it's, do I leave it generalized and allow you to go down the negative road? Or do I ask a question that I'm looking for a positive outcome and I'm influencing your answer by having you think about, did you make someone smile today? Did you see that person light up? Or what was the one thing that you were really shocked by that was really cool to see in the news for the first time? Did you listen to a song that lit you up when you were driving in the car? If people are like, no, 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 wouldn't it be interesting if you could find something like that every day and write it down and see how that's going to influence you? So you got to do it in a subtle way because people do always go negative. It's like getting around my parents. They're talking about the person's illness or who passed away. They live in a retirement community. I'm like, but how cool is it that you got to hang out with people and do some really interesting things and travel? And they're like, oh, yeah, that too. So you got to look at the default they go to and see if you can influence it in a way so they start to speak with that positive first. It takes a little bit of time because you don't want to say, why are you always being negative? Can't you be positive? That doesn't work because it just, but that's what you want to do. You want to shake them a little bit, but you can't shake people. I mean, you get in trouble for it. So it's, picking something on the television, if you're going to watch it with a family, that's going to be fun and entertaining. And be okay with someone saying, oh, I don't think that's really good for our daughter to watch. Okay, you're right. Oh, well, she's seen that before. Well, why would I go against what my wife's thought was? Because, okay, we can find a better show. Great. And it's not going to hurt anyone. So it's being able to change to accommodate a more positive way of thinking. Like when you're tired and you're done with work, you don't really want to cook. But if you've got things already made, you're like, okay, I've got chicken, I've got some rice, throw some vegetables together. And if you do it well, people enjoy it. And that's the whole process, is how we get enjoyment from creating things for others. They can give it back by giving us compliments. And a lot of times that's all people need to hear. That attaboy, like, how's your day going? I love your smile. That's a cool shirt. And just stop people because they're not ready for that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, think about someone at a cash register at a grocery store, right? Constantly people coming by. They say the same thing over and over. Did you find everything? Well, yeah, I did. It was great. Thanks so much for asking. I really appreciate it. Your tone of voice has a huge impact on the message they're receiving. I'm like, yeah, I guess. Like, our attitude is huge. And I always tell people I work with, I'm like, listen, say you're coming from work and you're pulling into your driveway or you're in your office. Just sit with yourself for a minute and just relax, decompress a bit and say, hey, how can I show up being the best version of who I need to be once I walk out of that door or walk into the house? How can I be the best caretaker, caregiver, spouse, partner, husband, mother, father? And then walk in with that energy and be, hey, how was everyone's day today? Not, hey, how was your day? Like, how was your day? Because your elevation of what you're putting out there is going to be received differently. And if it wasn't great, say, okay, would you like to have some help with that? Because as guys, we're like, oh, I can help you with that. It wasn't that bad. And we start comparing. I'm like, oh, you thought your day was bad? And like, there's nothing positive going to come from that.
So
So you
Sean,
have,
so what I'm getting from all this, right, is essentially like our attitude and our perception of the world is ultimately a choice. And we can choose to have, like, you can have like the worst thing happen to you. Like in your case, you had cancer, you had a heart attack, like you had went through all these calamities, but it was your way of perceiving it and your attitude and your choice to see it in a neutral to a positive perspective that made all the difference. And it's important that I'm like the reason I'm mentioning this because like I want to let my audience know, our audience know that they have a choice in their attitudes and their perceptions, no matter how negative the situation is in their environment, because it's their spin in their mind and their perception that ultimately makes a difference. And they can turn a disaster into a victory just through the way they perceive it. But I don't know, what would be your thoughts on that?
It's huge. It was interesting and quick story of friends of mine. They were in a church and they went and did a mission trip to Haiti. And the thing was, my buddy went by himself and his wife came with him. And there's the kids are all sitting out in this field with their books, waiting for the sun to come up. And she's like, "Oh, I can't believe how poor they live, and oh my God, the situations and this and that." And he goes, "But look at them. They're all smiling, waiting for the sun to come up. They don't know any different. They're not comparing it to the things we have. We're comparing it to the things we have. They don't know any difference. And look at they're smiling and they're happy." So, what is the reality of where we live is our choice. Now, if that person was to go see the abundance in our world, the United States, and going, "Why are you so mad and upset of all the things that you have access to?" And it's just one of those things you think about and you're like, the perspective from where you're coming from and the ability to have access to all these amazing things and you choose to go down the negative route, question yourself why you're doing that.
It's funny you say that, Sean, because I've been around a lot of wealthy people, and they're not, and then some of them are like not really, they're not happy, you know? Like you
Right.
could, like you're in America, you have all these conveniences, and you're still not happy, and then you have people in like these third world countries that are so happy that the sun is coming up, and it's just it's ironic because one of America's core identity is the relentless pursuit of happiness. And a lot of people are trying to find that in by comparing themselves to others or this and that or focusing on things that they don't have. But in reality, it's basically what you said, right? It's like focusing on what you do have that it ultimately makes a huge difference. But I don't know, what are your thoughts?
I think the word you use is interesting, relentless. I would rather it be the enjoyment of the pursuit of happiness because the attitude towards everything, like, "Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire." And did you enjoy the process of getting there? Because trust me, they're having these incredible, making a difference in their lives, and you're coming together and you're enjoying your fruitions that you've created in a business. And at the same time, maybe you made $1 million. But the goal is access to better. It's an interesting thing that, and they also are making money. And that's the coolest thing to be a part of. I think it's difficult when you're down and you're in survival mode and you're trying to pay your bills and credit's getting difficult. And you basically got to say, you know, and wake up every day being grateful I'm alive, connecting to myself, giving myself that time to reflect on what I'm going to do, connect to some amazing people, take care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And at the end of the day, did I do 1% more than I did the day before? And if you keep your head down and keep pushing yourself through this, you're going to get to where you need to be. But it's, "Oh, it didn't work today," and beat yourself up over it, and you're just starting back or further than you were before. But it's that consistency of reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing and having a better attitude towards it. And it can be the simplest things because what I tell people is I can have 100 M&Ms, right?
Hmm.
Like, "Cosmos, I'm gonna flip in one that's poisonous. I'm gonna stir it up. Go get an M&M, buddy." You're like, "No way." You're like, "I could die." And they're in there that are fine. I don't want to take the chance. And that's the thing with negativity and positivity. You can be doing amazing things all day long and you allow that negativity to pop up, it destroys everything you were working on. It's not 50-50, it's you allowed one thing to get in the way that pushed everything down, and it was your choice to do that. And people are like, what? That's crazy. I'm like, think about going out to dinner. Wait, the hostess seats you. You're feeling great. You're there for a special occasion. The waitress comes over, waiter. They ask you how your day is. You tell them it's a special occasion. They're like, awesome. They take care of you. The food's amazing. They offer dessert. You love it. They put the check down. And then they don't come back for a while. You start getting irritated. I want to go. Where's the check? Why did they come back for it?
Mhm.
Like, well, ask someone to get them. Why are you getting upset? You just had an amazing time, and just because it's 5 more minutes longer, you're going to destroy all of that, and maybe something came up. But just ask. Don't make an assumption that person's being lazy or forgot about you. And that's what people do is one thing can throw off all the amazing things they did all day because of the way in which they're looking at that one thing. So
And
it's be consistent with that.
no, I totally agree with you. I think it's like first our awareness of like how we're operating, and then like consciously making that effort to not let that one thing ruin the rest of the good things, you know?
Exactly. And again, what happens when you're irritated at one person that's yelling at you, and then you got to go to the next meeting? You're going to take that with you unless you give yourself that minute to decompress and show up the best version of yourself for that next person, because it goes with you. It really does. And people are like, oh, it's fine. It's like if you're about to, and I work with people on this all the time. You want to change careers, right? They're like, yep. I said, why? I hate this job. I hate the people. It's too stressed out. I'm like, well, you can't leave then. They're like, what do you mean? I said, until you're doing the best version of you at that job, where you love the job, you're passionate about it, you love the people you work with, and you're making the most out of it, then you switch, you're going to take that all with you. Otherwise, you're going to take that negativity with you. People do it in relationships all the time. And a relationship is anything, is take with you your best to the next thing you're going to, and be okay with. And people get, when they start doing this, they get all the job opportunities they've always wanted at the present job, the raises, the promotions, boys. And I'm like, you're not leaving something, you shouldn't leave something because it's bad. You should be leaving something to go do something better. And that doesn't mean what you're leaving is bad. That means you're looking to challenge yourself more. And when you have that attitude towards it, you don't stop the growth. You don't become complacent. You don't become relaxed. You're like, there's more out there. It's like Kobe Bryant. Like, the dude was an amazing basketball player. Then he wins an Emmy. Then he wins a Grammy. And people are like, what? Because he just kept elevating what he could do. He wasn't living in his past and his identity beforehand. He lived as his identity as a person, as a father, as a husband, and he played basketball and he did some cool things, but he knew who he was. And that's the thing, is a lot of times we don't know who we are. We know what we do, but we don't know who we are. And I love letting people get to know themselves for the first time and being a part of that. And I'm like, you get to reinvent yourself, man. Let's have fun with it.
So Sean, like let's say like with your way of like looking at things, if you had to advise an American right now who like always like who's like basically watching TV, gets all riled up at all the negativity on not only in the political scale but also in the business world and in the culture and society and all the culture wars that are happening, how would you advise Americans to like think and act in a way where they have the maximum amount of happiness, like no matter what they do?
Yeah, I've thought about this. And the big thing is, unless you're going to run for office or support a candidate directly working on their campaign, you have no say in what's actually going on in the world, especially in America.
But people
And
get so riled up and they get so angry and they get so caught up in everything.
because they're being forced to look at that. They really are. And you have to look at facts, and you have to take the emotion out of the fact. And the reality of it is, we've got a short amount of finite time. And I was listening to this little clip video today. And if everyone closed their eyes, you'd be colorblind, meaning you'd have to get to know the person, not what they look like. And all these divisivenesses that we're looking at have been told to us to look at. And the reality of it is, that person has the same fears, they have the same dreams. They may be making excuses on why they're not where they're at, but we all do it. But how can you support each other? When it really comes down to it, man, we all want to feel loved. We all want to be happy. We all want to have some security. And if we're starting to rely solely on other people to do that, it's not going to happen. They can manipulate us. But if we all start working towards making this world and this country a better place with coming together and saying, hey, let's work this out, whatever we can. Your fears are your phobias. Your fears are your racisms. Your fears are your differences in religion and economic backgrounds. And when it really comes down to it, the three things I just said, if we just focus on that, everything else will get fixed. But then, who are we? We're just like everyone else. And the differences are the people that are manipulating us lose power quickly. And it's easy to change something fast with the amount of people that it actually takes, not actually what we think it takes. So if you were to get 1,000,000 people out of 330 million to sit down at a certain time, let's say 11:11, and everyone just sits for a second and thinks happy thoughts, there's some crazy stuff that happens on a quantum physics level they're seeing now, not just this esoteric woo-woo thing. And it just takes that. Easter is one of those things. Christmas is one of those things. Valentine's Day is one of those things. And yes, people have gone through some struggles and they have negative thoughts towards holidays, but the reality of it is there's more positivity going on. So it's nice to sit still, and it would be great for people to say, not just one time a year, Earth Day or special holiday where we recognize our parents, but one time a week or one time a day where everyone just sits still for a minute, appreciates where they're at, who they are, and what they can do to make this world a better place, and just share it. And you would be shocked at how quickly everything turns around 180 degrees. And you're like, that's all it took. Yep. Every day, consistently doing something better, that you realize it's not a country that makes it a country, it's the people who make it the country.
That is amazing, Shawn. I'm like really inspired. And I would want my audience to know that they have the power to make a massive difference through a ripple effect. You know, like as Shawn is mentioning, if you just like take the time and like basically take control of our attitudes and our and the way we look at things, we can actually make a positive difference in the world. And then when we all come together, it makes a huge difference. So Shawn, I'm really grateful that you mentioned that.
Thanks, appreciate it, man. I really
So,
do.
Shawn, and connecting to this, like, from a perspective of a hypnotherapist, and how do you think Americans should go about searching for freedom in every sphere of their life? And also, you have a company called Structured Freedom. So, how do you think they should go about searching for freedom, not only in an individual level, but on a national level as well?
Well, at the individual level, your freedom is your ability to see what you have, not what's limiting you. And you start to realize that, hey, I've got a lot of connections to a lot of different things, and that creates freedom. And freedom can come in all different ways. Choice, what you have, what you don't have. And the thing is, how you become free is in your mind first. You free yourself from your thoughts of negativity. As a nation, the United States was also the melting pot, and then we hear that we don't want people coming across this way or in this way. And the reality of it is, we're fear. We have fear that people coming across don't have the best interest, but we never ask them. And so, as Americans, think about what you would want someone to come into your house to do. You'd want them to respect it. You'd want them to, enjoy it while they're there. And I think that's the one thing. It's not people coming here legally or illegally or whatever. It's what's their intention, and is it a positive one? And if it is, hey, I'm cool with it. But if it's negative, it's not all coming into your house sometimes that are looking to do the best thing. And as a country, you have to have some skepticism because you don't know where everyone's coming from. And you have to have a formula and a system in which vets people, which everything we do. You're not just going to hire someone off of not knowing who they are. You're going to research them. You're going to find more about them. And I think just creating a system in which we look at the values of who we're talking to, why we're talking to them, and how we can collaborate together. That's a nation, and that's an individual, and that's in your business. And if we keep that going that way, people will be fine. But it's fear of someone saying they could be a terrorist or they could be this. You're right. Well, they could be this and it could be that. So how are we going to find that out? We got to ask certain questions. We got to really do some due diligence. And when people get so polarized about blaming an object or a thing for causing damages to people in the world, I can find 5 to 6 other things that kill people. I can show you all these things, but why aren't we concerned that someone made an argument to create divisiveness and not connectedness? And I think that's the thing we have to realize is this bringing us together or is it bringing us apart? If it's bringing us apart, whose agenda is that? If it's bringing us together, why do they want us together? And that's the crazy thing is the United States is a melting pot of all different cultures. And it's amazing. I mean, you're an example. I'm an example. Like I wasn't born here, but there's different times and different reasons for us being here. But the reason is we all wanted an area where we had unlimited possibilities to be a better version of ourselves, to have more opportunities. And that's why people want to be here. But if you don't want to be here, you can leave too and go see what else is out there. But that's the thing is don't take for granted what you have. Share it with people. I think that's the biggest lesson here is, yeah, there are countries all over the world who are struggling. How are we showing them how to help themselves? And are we taking care of ourselves as much as we could and not waiting for someone else to do it? It's time for us as individuals to step up, to start making change inside our own country, and just holding people accountable that we put in positions of power to act on what we want. And if they're not, then we just vote them out or remove them, and we put in people that are going to do what we want. And that's the way in which the United States was created, and I think we forget about that.
No, totally. I agree with that. And it's a very interesting way of like looking at it, you know? Like especially about like knowing what's the intent of the people. Like ultimately that's what matters. Like do they have good intent or do they have bad intent? So yeah. So on a different note, Sean, actually it's connected to this. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about structured freedom and mental mechanics as well?
So structured freedom was created because I knew you have to have structure to have freedom. Otherwise, it's chaos. And my wife is a coach with me in it. She does more consulting with businesses, and she goes in and she creates structure within a company or a coaching company that says, "Hey, what's your client experience like, and what's your client retention?" And she basically goes in there and says, "Hey, I'm going to talk directly to these people and get the information that you need to know without them lying or giving you false information, and then you get to make choices to make this better for their experience. And it might hurt your ego, but you're going to get real information. And you also may need to listen to your team or put people in different positions who have different strengths to make this work." So she's about facts. Now, my job with the mental mechanics side of it is to say, hey, it's okay not to have it all together. Do you want to be better? And once they give me permission, I'm like, okay, let's clean up the energy that's flowing into you so it's cleaner. Let's talk about what you're reading, what you're putting in front of you, how you're exercising and moving, where are you getting creative in your life? Then let's unlock some things that may be holding you back. And then let's put in some things that are going to advance you forward. So you're looking forward to your future. So I handle the emotional side of people's businesses and their personal lives, where my wife is actually handling the factual, integrative execution of systems that supports that. So the combination too really makes a huge impact. And we realize like hers is basically a separate business and we do some things together. But the mental mechanics was, you know, we can improve 30 minutes sleep, drinking more water, have a bigger impact on how we're feeling, and then start working on how we're doing it instead of taking a quick fix drug. Now, there's certain medications that need to be in our lives, but I want people to do things as natural as possible and realize like, hey, it's not difficult to eat healthy, put good probiotics in our system, and find out what's off in us. There's tons of people with autoimmune issues. There's tons of people with digestive disorders, and they're given a pill and a potion that works on the problem but not the cause. I want to know what the cause of this is. And if we can
Mhm.
really work on balancing that out, people heal themselves quickly. And I give my time to people who are going through cancer for themselves and their families because that's huge to get rid of stress to heal. And a lot of times people just need some hope. And when they realize that it's inside themselves and I can show them how to activate their own hope, dude, it's amazing what can be done. Like crazy results that people are like, oh, that's not real. I'm like, okay, join the program. They're like, what? I'm like, join the program. And I'm having one in May. It's a 2 to 3 day challenge. It's free. And what people get to experience are simple changes that make great impact on their daily lives. And then they get the opportunity if they want to join a group. I do group programs and I also do one on one. And I've been brought into companies after I've worked with people, and they're like, wow, man, this is some really interesting stuff because you're actually wanting to know about me as a person and then how I can fit into this company to make it a better company. I said, trust me, the energy you're bringing to work is what's staying at work, and you want it to be as positive as possible. Let's have fun with this. Treat each other with respect. And that first starts with treating yourself with respect.
Totally.
Because that's the whole key to this, man, is respecting yourself.
Yeah, we're not only respecting ourselves, but respecting others, like give them a basic level of respect because a lot of the
Right.
problems in the world can go away if we just respect ourselves and respect each other. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So Sean, like, is there like any other any projects that are upcoming in the near future that you'd want the audience to get a glimpse into?
Well, my wife has created a program. She's actually leaving tomorrow. They're having a retreat, and it's for women who want to make a difference in their lives and reinvent themselves. It's called the Wealth Builder Collective, and I can give you some information on that. And the main thing, like I said, I'm doing my challenge, and I'm looking for people who are like, listen, I need to make a shift to become healthier and happier. And it doesn't mean you have to be sick. I just want to be a better version of myself. I've got training that will not repeat itself in a year. It's all different every week. We meet one on one, or like I said, in a group. I give people challenging things to do for themselves, and they get to share it in a way that, hey, we're all a little bit more alike than we are different. And people are just getting really cool things that are accomplishing. And I have two guys in the program right now, and we're in a business group together, and they both stood up and they're like, yeah, my business is tripled and mine's doubled. I'm like, I got to charge you guys more. And then we just started laughing about it because I had no idea the impact that it had on them financially. And their relationships are better. They're doing things they've never done before. And that's what I love about doing this type of work is, yeah, you may not be suffering, but you may want and are curious about what else you can do. And that's the person I want to talk to. You don't I want you to want this, not need it. Because at first, when I worked with people, I'm like, oh, they need this. And I'd be like, okay, come on, come on. And I'm like, nope, you know what? When they're ready, they're ready. There's always the opportunity. But when you want it and you're not sure, let's have a conversation. I'll show you what's possible.
That is awesome, Sean. I would definitely recommend my audience to take a look into like your challenges and like also structured freedom as well. And how can my audience connect with you to get and connect with you and get to know more about you and what you're doing?
So my website is Shawn, which is SHAWN, A as in Apple, HUBER.com. And if you do structuredfreedom.com, it'll go to my wife's side and my side if you want to link to our information. And my email is structuredfreedom@gmail.com. If you search me on Facebook, you'll find me. You Google me, you'll find me. So I have all kinds of great people behind the scenes getting me up on the list of Google searches, which is kind of cool. And that's the best way for them to get a hold of me.
Awesome, Sean. Sean, I'm really glad that you took the time to come to our podcast and like share like your very deep, meaningful insights. And I think me and my audience have gotten a lot from it. And I do hope that in the future you do take the time to come back again.
Thanks, Cosmos. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I want to end this podcast by telling all my fellow extraordinary Americans that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It's our duty to unleash it and awaken it. Until next time, bye for now.
Hey there, everyone. Thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education. for it is knowledge that truly sets you free. Also remember that your purchasing power is being diluted through inflation, and then the practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power by investing in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Also, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.